Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Nigeria's film industry, popularly referred to as Nollywood, has in the past 10 years experienced a profound transformation in economic terms, which is the reason that today it has been mentioned in the same breath as its contemporaries in the United States and India. But a little question continues to hang over the level of professionalism that defines this money spinner. We're now going to have a conversation about this with Uru Eke, a Nigerian actress and film producer who is known for her debut, Remember Me, as well as Obi in Ndani TV's web series, Rumor Has It, Last Flight to Abuja, Weekend Getaway, and Being Mrs. Elliot. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Good
to see you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. So why did you make this switch from information technology to acting, script writing, producing, considering that, there's probably more money in information technology?
Yeah, you're right. There was more money, and I was doing well as a contractor. But after doing it for 5 years, I got bored. And I've always wanted to be an actress. But I don't think, while I was working as a contractor, I was ready at the time, even at uni. So I think it just took me some time to be mentally prepared for the switch, and also because I was coming to Nigeria to do it as well. And so just to move countries and move careers, it was something I really needed to think about. And when I was finally ready to do it, I just took the plunge, and I'm happy I did that switch.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
So tell us about your latest project, For Old Time's Sake.
Right, so For Old Time's Sake is it's a romantic drama that's got dance in it. So first for me and scary dancing, because it's been attempted before, and you've got to be careful when you treat these kind of films where you've got a lot of dancing in. So what we did was we trained for about 2 months, and just so that we could be fluid and so that it would look good. Of course, the casting was a bit difficult because the lead guy, everyone that I approached to do the job, they were a bit skeptical because they weren't sure how they would look, if they would look stupid dancing, but eventually, after guy, and I'm just happy that it worked.
It does work. It sounds like dancing. It does look good.
So looking at the film now and watching it back and watching all the raw images and all the cuts, it actually did come together really.
Face in the Nollywood, different stories, usually along the same lines. So I'd like to personalize it to you. Since you've moved back to Nigeria, what challenges would you say have been literally right in your face in the Nollywood industry that you just wish you could get rid of?
I think I'll approach it from 2 angles. First of all, the first challenge was getting an opportunity, because the way it is at the time that I stepped in, you had a number of actors and actresses that were being recycled. So, if you had 10 films, you'd have the same people in all 10 films. So breaking into that, you'd have to really prove your worth, and you'd have to really prove to the director or producer that you were equally as good as this popular person that they use all the time. Then the second challenge would be as a producer. As a producer, the biggest problem that we have is funding, because most of the films that we produce are self-funded. And then, of course, you do have corporate bodies who are coming in now and again who are contributing and sponsoring projects. And then you have the likes of the BOI, Bank of Industry, that's also put money aside where we can then go and take a loan and pay back over a number of years. So those are the 2 major challenges that I faced as an actress and as a producer now.
Well, let me ask you, you've done so many films. IT? Yes, but these are mostly love and romance, movies, that the pretty girlfriend, and now you are doing For Old Time's Sake. It's also a romantic. Is it a choice, or is it that, the directors like to typecast you as a pretty woman,
I think I haven't said
as a
that.
Julia Roberts of the screen?
Before For Old Time's Sake, I actually produced a film called Remember Me. And Remember Me was centered around illegal mining
Oh, you should have been on our last conversation.
And illegal land leasing, on the borders of Nigeria and various countries. And it had nothing to do with glamour, had nothing to do with love, had nothing to do with romance. It was just basically exposing some organizations that go into rural developments and, go and do a back-end deal for the mineral resources and for whatever the state or the community have to offer. So that really had nothing to do with romance. So
that's just one out of the whole body of work.
There have been a few that haven't really been romantic, but I suppose maybe when you're good at something, they keep casting you for the same thing. I don't know.
So you're comfortable with the rom-com genre?
I think I'm comfortable with anything, really. It's just a case of when the project comes to you and you get some time to internalize it, and if it needs some rehearsals and things just to get used to the character, then you do that just to prepare.
Question for you now. You mentioned sort of challenges that you face with regards to funding your movies. Yeah. You hear these amazing statistics relating to Nollywood about how the film industry employs 1 million Nigerians and you guys generate so much revenue, hundreds of millions of dollars and what have you. But a lot of the movies being produced by Nollywood are low-budget movies and the revenues are small. You do get the odd breakout movie that generates like 100 million naira and above. But most of the time, filmmakers don't even break even, which led to your colleague in acting and also a legislator called Desmond Elliott to call for foreign films to be banned. Would you agree with that stance? Or if you don't, what would you prescribe?
I think that Nollywood does employ a vast number of people because remember we have film set week in, week out. I think in a typical week you probably have maybe more than 5, 6, 7 film sets across Nigeria going on. So we do have a number of people who are employed by this industry, and we do generate a lot of money, even though it might not be as much as Bollywood and the others. But we do generate a lot of money because we sell those films on different platforms. Some people just make those films and put them on YouTube. And of course, you know how YouTube works. If you gather a lot of views or something, you get you can monetize your YouTube page. And now, in terms of banning foreign films, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea because we do get a lot of our ideas and you do get a lot of inspiration from everywhere. And I also think that the foreign films are a form of entertainment that contribute to the entertainment that we watch here. And I also think that we need the foreign films in order to better our industry as well, because a lot of us are self-taught. A lot of us learn from having worked on film sets. And I think that we could take a leaf or two from the foreign films. So why ban them completely? Because I think we still need a lot of improvement here. And if we can't get the training, people can't physically travel there to go and get the training. Why can't they get the training from observing what other people are doing who are doing it really well?
And speaking of training, a point that's often pushed is that of acting school. Lots of people go into the Nollywood industry without really having much background in acting itself and theatre. Do you think that it's necessary to have actually studied at acting school before venturing into the Nollywood industry? And do you also think it's important, and now is the time, for Nigeria to start looking at developing acting schools for people, and what is being done about that, if anything?
We do have a couple of notable producers who do have acting schools. Isung's had one for a long time, Royal Arts Academy, I think it's called. And I think Lancelot Imasamon has one as well in Benin. I can't really remember the name. These people have been in the industry for a really long time and they've been producers, not actors. So I think they're sharing their knowledge with the new generation of actors and actresses. And I think it's really important that we do develop that sector because it's a huge export. Apart from music, before music, you had Nollywood. And I think, wherever our stars go, they're mobbed, they're recognized. And I think that the government needs to pay more attention to developing this industry and supporting the industry, just as they've done with BOI. But I also think that in order to provide the training that we need, we can't depend solely on the producers and, the directors or people like me to offer that training, because I don't have the funding to set up a school. I'm going to need support from the government if I'm going to share my knowledge. And there's a lot of people out there that actually want to join the industry. They don't know how. They don't have the skill set to do it. And that's sometimes why they don't get the opportunity. But if there was a school that they could go to, you know, and learn, and then eventually maybe produce their own films or get an opportunity to star in somebody else's film, that would be, it would be a good thing for us. And the way that I started was I did actually get some training because I belong to an acting association in the UK, and I still went to film school, Relativity School in LA, and studied producing there. So I think it's important that you do get the rudiments and the basics of whatever it is that you want to go into.
Quite correct. As in virtually every field,
Yeah.
you know, you need to constantly improve your skills.
Yes.
But you've worked with so many people
Yes.
Since 2005. Obiemele, Chidi Chikere, Desmond Elliott in Weekend Getaway, Money Oboli in Being Mrs. Elliott,
Yeah.
and then all those guys with whom you play
Done your
romantic roles. But let me ask you, I mean, who are the ones that have inspired you most in terms of work ethics, discipline, experience, talent, be they directors or producers or fellow actors?
MM's song is one of them, because before I moved back, I actually did research her, and she had just started her school at the time. And when I came back, I can't remember how I found her, but I think I went to her house or something. And she was surprised, who's this stranger knocking on my door? You know, and I just said, I came to look for you, you know, and I told her, introduced myself, and I gave her some stuff that I'd put together. And she was one of the first people that gave me an opportunity. She had never seen, apart from, I don't think she watched those DVDs I gave her, to be honest with you, but she just said, if I'm filming and you're around, I will give you something, I'll see what you can do. And, you know, ever since then, she's been very supportive of my career. And you know, she's one of the people that I look up to because she's a film and producer, and she's been able to do it, you know, because it's difficult, any type of business in this country, especially as a woman. And she has her own studio, she has her school, she's got so many films under her belt, you know, and she's thriving, and, you know, she's still doing it. So she's one of the people that I hold in very high regard. And another person that I hold in very high regard, there are two of them actually, women as well.
If you just hold your thoughts there, we take a short break, and then we come back to you, and then you tell us about the other people. We take a short break now. Stay tuned. Back to the morning show here on Arise News. Still with us in the studio is Uru Eke, award-winning actress, scriptwriter, and producer. And before we went on break, Uru, you were talking about who you've worked with, and who has inspired you.
Yeah.
You know,
they're all women, actually. Amoni Oboli is another one. Amoni's a go-getter, like she's a force. When she's got a film coming out, just move out the way, because she will bulldoze you out the way. Everyone's going to know about that film. I just love her drive. She never gives up. She's very encouraging. And if I need any information, she's always there to offer it. Another person that I've looked up to is Uche Jumbo. I think she's got the most self-funded films, you know, out of all the women in Nollywood as well. So these are people that, you know, inspire me. And, you know, they don't know this, but they've silently encouraged me to go on this journey as producer as well.
It's good to hear about this level of camaraderie between actresses. But what I've always read about acting, so your experience is refreshing to hear. I also have read that talent is not really what makes an actor successful, but that it's networking and your ability to get along with other people. Would you like to comment on that?
I think to a level it's true, because I see it myself. You know, I think that apart from networking, I also think it's popularity on social media. You know, because really and truly, I see some people have been casted just because they've got like X number of people on Instagram. You know, is there anything I can do about it? No. And maybe just produce more of my own things and star in my own films, you know.
And a lot of people often take that switch, or diversion, should I say, from acting to producing and getting behind the camera and getting in on the actual filmmaking work. What has that been like for you as well? What led you to want to really venture into producing? And would you say you prefer that production journey? Because a lot of people say it gives them like more oomph when they're in there and right behind the scenes.
To be honest, I enjoy being an actress thoroughly. I enjoy being an actress thoroughly, but I also want to be a producer, and Nigeria's given me the opportunity to do that. So, but if you ask me to choose which one I prefer, it would definitely be acting. It's just that with producing, I get to create characters that other people don't offer me, you know, and come up with stories that, you know, out of my head, my imagination, that I haven't been, you know, offered as well. So I think that's just why I'm doing it, really. But not that I don't enjoy it, because it's got its own challenge. It's actually more challenging than being an actress, because everything is on you, you know. So the huge responsibility comes with it, and it's very stressful. But I think I'm enjoying it, because this is my second one.
Well, I mean, let me open up the conversation in other ways. And I return to the subject of love. You know, I've read some of your comments on love and all of that, including the guy who sent you a direct message, you know, and who was asking for love, you know. You know, if you were to make a choice between love and transactional relationship, which one will you say is more important? And is there true love in Nigeria?
Oh gosh, that's difficult.
I'm trying not to cry from laughter on set.
Oh, okay. If I was to choose between love and transaction, it's obviously love.
And then can we find true love in Nigeria? Does it exist?
I don't know if it does exist. It's different because everybody's complaining that, even the men are complaining that they can't find love. I mean, usually it's the women that complain, but the men are voicing out now, and it's like, okay, what is going on? You know, so I think there's a problem.
Dr. Abate, I didn't have you pegged as a cynic.
Honestly.
What has been
So
your
what eventually happened with that guy that sent you a direct message?
There's been quite a
I
few
bet
of them.
it's
Which
more
one?
than one guy.
Oh, you get these direct
I
messages?
get them all the time.
Yeah.
I get them
I
all the
see.
time. I
It
can't
must
take
be
them
it
really
must be
seriously.
quite a challenge being a famous woman in Nigeria.
I take it in my stride.
What has been your favorite role so far, the most memorable for you?
I think, to be honest, I think this one, for all time's sake, because I love dancing, and I get to dance in it as well. So I think it's this one, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you spoke about the movie that you shot around illegal mining and other matters
Yes.
of illegal activities around minerals as well. What was it really like shooting that? Was there a lot that you also learned about that industry while getting in on the film? And are there any structural changes that you would like to advocate for as someone with a voice, someone with influence around that matter?
Yeah. The reason why I actually shot that film was because I think a few years before that I'd visited Bielsa, and we all know the money that comes out of Bielsa because of that's where the oil is. And going there and looking at the place and like, there's no development, you know? So I'm like, I was shocked, you know? And then people started to tell me stories about how, you know, some people were paid to not do anything so they can just take the oil. So some people were settled, in essence, just to take the oil. So, okay, now they're settled, so why don't they put the money back into the communities in order to develop the place, in order to have some type of infrastructure? You know, then also about the shady deals that go on, how they get this oil and how they get these mineral resources. And I met a lady that came from Australia who she was doing some research about this topic as well. And she wasn't even in Nigeria, she was actually going to various African countries. So us is oil, she was going to places where they had, you know, other forms of mineral, gold and things, and how they were being exploited as well. Nothing was being given back to the community. And it made me wonder. So I said, okay, you know what? I can either talk about financial corruption or I can either talk about this. Financial corruption, we know we talk about that day in, day out. How about we expose this? And because a lot of people ask, is it really going? I say, yes, it actually does happen. You know, and I think that it's just because there's no accountability. You know, no one's being asked any questions. No one's been reprimanded for any shady deals or under the table dealings. And that's the reason why these things go on. And if the local community turn a blind eye and they're not reporting to the government's not going to do anything about it. So I don't know where to actually begin, because do you begin from the little man or do you begin from the big guys? You know, it's like they just don't care. You know, so who do you actually even, you know, who do you actually even reprimand in these things? I'm a bit confused, but it's just that you have to expose them and talk about them and let people know that these things happen. Hopefully someone will come into power and say, okay, you know, we've got to put a stop to it.
Well, earlier on you talked about government support.
Yeah.
And many will agree with you that government support for the creative industry is important. But we have in place the Nollywood Fund,
Yes.
managed by the Bank of Industry.
Yeah.
The central bank has also been talking about supporting the creative industry. Have you ever made effort to access, some of these funds? Or is there something else that you think government, either at the federal level or the state level, should do, to support the creative industry?
I think the government's done really well by offering us this support in the first place, because the interests that we have to pay back on the loans are not as terrifying. I haven't accessed that opportunity yet because I've been fortunate to get my funding. I got the first funding for Remember Me, which was my producing debut from the Ford Foundation, because it was a film on social change. And I was fortunate to get this funding from Red TV. Red TV is owned by UBA, so they could co-produce this film with me. Now, if it so happens that the next one I don't get funding, then maybe I will consider going to the BOI, but I haven't considered that just yet. And yes, I think the government can do a bit more. I think we need some studios, some really state-of-the-art studios for the industry. I mean, an individual can't. Maybe they can, but I think it's gonna be financially cumbersome for one person or a group of people to put this together. So it's got to be something that's run by the government and run properly. So all of us can access it, and it will be affordable for all of us. Because I think if it was privatized, it might be a bit expensive. So I think they can step in a bit more and put their weight behind us.
Well, still on Naira and Kobo, let's talk about how to make a living as an actor or actress, because it is a challenge. You have had to be really proactive and that you can star in, write your own stuff. What are the skills that are required to be a producer, to be a screenwriter? Because not everybody has that. And some people who do have those skills might not know that they have them. So how do you identify that you're able to do that? What are the skills that you need?
I think you've just got to be a creative, first of all. And because I come up with some of my story, I don't write them myself. I don't do the screenplay myself. Thank God there's a lot of script writers out there, but you've got to definitely sieve through them to get the good ones. So the first key thing is to identify where your strengths are. Are you a script writer? Are you an actress? Are you a producer? Where do you think you will thrive? And then depending on where you think you fit in, you might want to intern. You might want to shadow someone who's already doing those things. Don't expect anything back from them. Don't expect some type of payment. Just learn the skill. And then when you think you're comfortable, then you can start to branch out on your own. And to be honest with you, you can shoot on an iPhone. You don't really need like, a big camera to start something small and put your work out there so people can see. Thank God we have Instagram, so it's like a virtual office for all of us. We don't have to pay for that. So do something and put it out there. If sponsor that, do a sponsored ad so people can see your work. And then maybe send a few DMs, because I get a lot of people sending me DMs saying, I want to act, I want to do this, I want to do that. So you need to put yourself out there, in whatever capacity at all that you're interested in, somehow.
Great. And after this movie, what's next for you as an actress, as a producer, and everything else that you are?
Well, I'm hoping that I could produce more of my own stuff. I'm hoping that I would also get the opportunity to do something outside of Nigeria. I would love to go back to the UK and start to produce stuff in the UK as well, mainstream UK television. So those are my dreams, to just continue producing and starring in my own stuff.
Well, we'll be wrapping up in just a matter of less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Where do you see the future of Nollywood? Where do you think the industry is going?
Yeah.
Do you see greater prospects, or you see more problems?
No, I see greater prospects. And the reason why I say that is because our films are getting better. The quality is getting better. People are spending more money, and the recognition as well. So you realize if your film, like for instance, one of our films, I think it was Mo Obodo's film, or a couple of other films went to the Toronto International Festival. Now, if you want that kind of...
Big Daddy?
No, I think it was Wedding Party. There was a couple. There was a few of them that went to Toronto International Film Festival. The international recognition, we've got to do better with our production quality. I mean, Genevieve's film got picked up by Netflix, and their quality control you know, it's very stringent. So if you don't pass it, I don't think they're going to put your film on there.
Well, on that note, Uru Eke, we have to thank you very much for
you.
brightening up our, our program today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.